Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, their comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle, and I'm ready to get your world a little weirder.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I'm honestly, I had the thought going into this episode, do I remember how to start one of these and lead one of these? Because you've done a 3-parter. So I've been I've just been reacting for a month.
Niall's been in front of the mirror today, just reciting that opening bit over and over.
And I still had to do it twice. So there you go. A little behind the scenes for people.
Look, it doesn't require a 3-parter that causes me to basically take a podcast vacation to forget that.
Yeah.
Right? I can launch into it being I'm pretty sure I remember this after doing it for 6 years and just completely fuck it up.
Well, what's fun now is that I accidentally sometimes do the wrong sign-offs and stuff for 2 different podcasts. I've accidentally said tell your congressman on my wrestling podcast, which I mean maybe you should. I don't know. There's some weird stuff happening in wrestling these days, but
wrestling's fucked up.
It's not it's not the usual sign-off for that show. Outside Divecast, if you want to look it up at Outside Divecast on Twitter. So, Kyle, you said we had an email this week.
Do
you want to start there?
Have an email. And Niall, I'm going to drag you kicking and screaming back into my realm.
Into your realm. Okay. What do you consider your realm?
We got an email from Weird John.
Oh yeah. Hey Weird John.
Titled Car Corner.
Me saying we're on the podcast last week that we're not doing Car Corner got people, I guess, in emails and our Discord to be no, like fucking Darth Vader at the end of Revenge of the Sith knows at us. And hey, I guess you like it. At my apartment complex, they're repaving a lot of the areas, and it's causing turmoil with trying to have parking spaces.
It's so fucked out there. And I don't know, I guess I'm just lucky that Wednesday night nobody's hanging out, but man, it is absolutely fucked in your parking lot. The people behind this scheme should be, I'll say it, shot. It's just it's just really fucked up. Yeah. But we did get this email about our Car Corner stuff. So Weird John says, hey guys, I came across an article about an awful pothole in Indianapolis that's so large that a business's gas vendor was going to stop delivering to them. I thought you guys were exaggerating about Indianapolis's pothole problem, but you've been vindicated by the news. So there's a Wish TV link. And then Weird John goes on to say, I also found a pothole viewer website if you want to stay up to date with all of Indianapolis's latest pothole sightings.
Take a tour.
Looks like there are more potholes than hairs on Mothman's ass, and that's maps.indy.gov/indie pothole viewer. Signed, Weird John. Now, I appreciate that they have, expended effort to track the obscene amount of potholes that are just life-threatening around the city. I
legit cracked my windshield.
Yeah.
I legit had to,
I'm pretty sure I almost bottomed out my car one time. It's genuinely fucked up. We're just eventually going to have a cavern open up that just swallows Indianapolis. So,
but then we'll finally be able to tell you if the Earth's hollow or not.
That's true.
So I'm looking forward to that, to finally settle our episode 200 debate between flat and hollow Earth when Indianapolis finally devolves into a sinkhole. And we just go into it.
Or it opens up and we fall out the bottom and into outer space.
Yeah.
That could be another problem.
That would be the other side of things. No, isn't it like fucking aliens running kilns or some shit underneath? in a lot of in some of the flat Earth ones.
Something like that. That is a way to wrap this car corner shit up into, our sort of universe. Maybe the potholes are a reptilian plot somehow. I mean, look, if they're trying to create negative energy, what better way than to disrupt commutes?
It's a fucking Anunnaki plot to put more negative energy out into the world.
Yeah, fucking Governor Holcomb or whatever is a reptilian.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. Anyways, that's been the car corner forced upon us by our fans. I don't mean it quite like that, but I appreciate it.
Look, there are times where I get self-conscious about doing stupid things on this show because my sense of humor sometimes leans into I'm going to annoy you a little bit for a long amount of time because it's funny to me, and that doesn't work for everybody. Sometimes that just comes off to be actually annoying.
Oh, we're just I'm too used to your particular steez. Although your other aspect of your sense of humor is that you can deadpan say something completely incorrect, knowing full well that it's bullshit. And I will fall for that constantly.
Yeah.
And here's the good news is that I can be self-conscious too, but I feel like when you're self-conscious, my brain snaps into, I have no self-consciousness about this whatsoever. So we kind of balance each other out, I guess.
Yeah, it works out. That's the dynamic.
Potholes. Somebody should do something about that. Or, I don't know, maybe we got to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps.
Wasn't Domino's doing something about that at one point?
The pizza?
Yeah. Do you remember that?
No.
They literally in some town as a promotional stunt. Domino's was literally filling potholes. I think it was Domino's. I would have to look this up. I don't know if they're still doing that, but
hey, every 10 pizzas we donate $50 to your pothole reconstructive street surgery. This child had to sell lemonade to pay for his scholarship or his mom's cancer.
Hey, one man's promotional inspirational story is another person's late stage capitalism.
Absolutely.
So this week, Kyle.
Oh yeah. Oh shit, we got to do an episode.
I've got a story for you.
Okay.
Turns out this is a pretty famous or maybe infamous kind of story in certain circles. Today we're going to talk about possibly the most famous case of a Bigfoot kidnapping a human being.
Now, I think the one that sticks out in my mind, and maybe it's because I think the most recent Bigfoot related episode we had, but there was a guy who he hunkered down in a cabin while Bigfeet accosted the place.
Yeah, that wasn't a kidnapping. That was the Bigfoot War or whatever.
Yeah.
No, that was the different
Bigfoot
one.
War. The Bigfoot War is an entirely different thing.
Yeah, you're right. But no, the other one was the one that I did where we decided the big question involved us finding ways to kill Bigfoot, which was a little weird. But this is an actual Bigfoot kidnapping.
Okay. Has that happened on this show before? I can't really remember.
I don't think so.
I guess it's sort of implied in Missing 411 sometimes.
Yes. But this is a case from the 1920s.
Now that's a surprise.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie.
So today, Kyle, we're going to talk about the story of Albert Ostman and the Bigfoot kidnapping of 1924.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So I'll just set this up now. The ending of this is one of my favorite things that I've come across in cryptid lore. It's so fucking funny to me, and I'm very excited to talk about it. So, Albert Ostman, he's a Canadian prospector who was working out in the Toba Inlet in British Columbia back in 1924, where at one point he was out in the woods and was abducted by a Sasquatch and held captive for 6 days.
Okay, so this man's claiming he had a prolonged thing with Bigfoot.
And not just one, but a family of Sasquatches.
Now, in my mind, Bigfoot is a phenomenon that doesn't really get started till the 50s and 60s. So, do you have anything on what is there because I feel like the term Bigfoot gets coined later, right? So at the time it's like a Sasquatch thing for this guy.
Yes, they're calling it Sasquatch. It gets called Bigfoot now, but So in the story, the fun thing about this is that we have a fucking full blown written and even recorded account of Albert Ostman telling the story himself from the
my
1970s
God, okay.
because of the works of a Sasquatch researcher by the name of John Green. No, not that one.
It would be awesome if it was, though.
Yeah, he was an author and Sasquatch researcher who seems to be actually like a somewhat big name in the field of the time. Because he wrote a book in 1978 entitled Sasquatch: The Apes Among Us, and has like in doing this book, he had a full blown like, here is a full accounting of Albert Ostman's full story from beginning to end in his own words. So I have the actual fucking account by Albert Ostman that we're going to go through, which is cool.
Can we be totally certain it's not the same John Green?
The picture didn't look like the current John Green.
Maybe he had some surgery.
Yeah, and also he would have he traveled like this guy in the photographs I was looking at was quite a bit older.
Okay, well,
even than John Green now.
We can confirm or deny this if we crack open that book, because if the first sentence begins with "cock is one of my favorite tastes," then you will know.
Fuck you.
You will know which John Green.
Oh man, no, I unfortunately do not have the full text of Sasquatch: The Apes Among Us, in which we could actually find out if that's the case. But when I saw this and it was just John Green, I was just like, oh, this is gonna be a thing.
You know, honestly though, that would be kind of a dope way to start a book about Sasquatch with the phrase "cock is one of my favorite tastes," because you're on for some sort of journey.
True. I don't even know what to do with that. I don't. That is a meme that I was not, or that I was not active during. Like I was not. I was never on Tumblr.
Yeah.
But I've seen that in the aftermath.
Well,
and it's the thing that gets referenced anytime someone says that you should be able to edit tweets. Anytime someone's like, "Hey, Twitter? Where's that edit button?" Someone brings up the Tumblr edit button.
Look, it's a slightly obscure thing unless you're on a certain place on the internet at a certain time. But if you want to know more about it, go ahead and Google John Green cock, and you'll find more about that. So
probably John Green edit button on Tumblr.
That might like work too, but I would
there.
Go with the safe route and look up John Green cock.
Okay. So let's get into Albert Ostman's account because, okay, I'll preface this by saying this took place in 1924.
Mm-hmm.
The interviews and stuff with Albert Ostman didn't start until the 1950s.
Decades later, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah. And I have a little bit about that later on after the story, but I'm just basically prefacing this by saying this is not an account that he gave like right after coming back from being abducted by Sasquatches.
Sure, he had time to stew on it.
Yes, this is a thing that came about later, basically once the Bigfoot craze of the 50s came about. Right. That led him to think maybe people would actually listen to him if you take him at his word, and that's what led him to actually tell this story.
Okay, all right.
So, he was doing logging and construction work at the time. He had been on a like longer than 1 year construction job and thought that, hey, I should take an actual vacation. I should go out into the woods by myself, which I guess was his idea of a vacation at the time.
Good for him.
And he wanted to go check out some supposed lost gold mines in British Columbia. So he heard of one on the head of the Toba Inlet and decided, hey, I'm going to go take a vacation, go out into the woods and camp and look for this lost gold mine just to see what happens. So he headed there and he met a very talkative old Native American gentleman who kept telling stories about this white man who would just be drunk all the time in a bar, hanging out, and he would just be throwing money around all the time. And anytime he kind of ran out of money, he would disappear for a couple days and come back with a fresh stash of gold and money and everything. So he basically thought, hey, this is, evidence of this mine, and I can try to figure out where to go. But at one point, this guy went away and never came back. And so the local lore was that this man had been killed by a Sasquatch.
Mm.
And this is where basically this story is where Albert Ostman first heard of Sasquatches. He was like vaguely aware of some sort of hairy bipedal being, whatever, just from being in the circles of logging and construction and everything. So, you travel around and you hear of some things, but this is where he was really given the rundown of what that is.
It's funny to think of, because we've talked about fearsome critters for that's kind of also in that same canon.
Yep.
But it is funny to stop and think and be like imagine you're working that job and you're sawing down a log or something, and one of your coworkers is just like, "You interested in big hairy men?"
Yeah.
What, you mean another a lumberjack? No, I'm talking really hairy.
Yeah, I'm talking hair all over. And so this is actually interesting. There's a whole thing that I found out about that I actually didn't know about Sasquatch lore. Before a certain point, before about the 50s, accounts of the Sasquatch were basically just a tall humanoid that wasn't hair all over, just had hair on their head, was very much just almost like a smallish giant.
Okay.
And then the accounts basically started to come out about the full modern version of the Sasquatch, and Albert Ostman was his accounts were ahead of its time for being the modern version and modern idea of a Sasquatch.
Right. Well, if you believe,
if you believe it,
story, of course.
And that is the undercurrent of all of this.
Sure.
But that is one of the things that goes to people saying he has a point. He has something actually happened to him, was that he supposedly saw what we now think of as a Sasquatch 30 years before we really thought of them as that. So anyway, the Native American then described to him what the Sasquatch were. He said they have hair all over their bodies, but they are not animals. They are people. Big people living in the mountains. My uncle saw the tracks of one that were 2 feet long. One old Indian saw one over 8 feet tall. So he then Ostman basically was like, I don't believe you. It's not, that's a thing from long ago. If it ever existed, they're not around now. Not a thing I have to worry about. And the Native American guy said, hey, they may not be many, but they still exist. So this is when he then set out to go camping out in the woods.
Wow.
He decided to go look for the lost mine, took all the information he had, and decided to go look for it.
Bold after getting what was essentially the horror movie Turn Back Now speech.
He literally gets the old man at the gas station speech from a guy at a bar telling about, hey, in the woods, there are these people that killed a guy they're big, they're hairy, and they're dangerous.
Ugh.
And he was like, oh no, that's not a thing.
Sounds like a vacation to me.
Yeah. This story feels so perfect in those ways where it has all of the narrative beats of someone making this up, but in a modern way, not in a 1950s way,
Yeah.
So anyway, he took his provisions. He took he had a rifle with him. He had a big knife with him. He had a pickaxe because he was, if he found the mine, so he had mining equipment. He went to a general store and got cans of snuff and coffee and all this.
Don't mix those two up.
Hold on to that.
Oh my God. No way.
So he got all this stuff ready. He got supplies to go out into the woods and then set out to go and check out the area. He set up camp one night. He went all the way around everywhere. He was out there for a couple days and basically didn't really have anything of substance happen. It was just kind of having a vacation. But then a couple days into his time out in the woods, he was staying at what he thought was an exceptionally good campsite. He wanted to make it his permanent camp for the rest of his time out there instead of moving around quite a bit because it was primo camp material.
Are we sure this isn't the weirdest excuse to take a couple extra days off work that his foreman has ever heard?
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. there are so many things that you could try to take from this and spin it any which way, because it's just like it's a wonderful story. I fucking love this. It totally does sound like he was trying to make up an excuse why he was late getting back to his next job. And he just got his story got way out of hand, and he started. I was out in the woods looking for this lost mine. I didn't find it, but I got abducted by Bigfoot. Oh, you don't know what a Sasquatch is? Sasquatch, big hairy guy.
Yeah, like
really big.
A family of them, really. Like they just kind of all took me, and well, I mean, one of them would have been one thing because I mean, look at me. I got to look at these muscles. But
yeah, I mean, I had my rifle.
Yeah, pretty weird excuse.
So this is when he sets up his quote unquote permanent camp, and he noticed the next morning that some things were not where he had left them. He noticed that things had been disturbed during the night, but nothing was missing. It just moved. So he started to kind of take some precautions, keeping his rifle loaded, sleeping with stuff in arm's reach. And this is just a thing that I thought was really funny. He keeps referring to thinking that it was porkies, which I'm assuming is some sort of boar or wild hog that is in this area. But he just says, let's see. That night I laid my rifle under the edge of my sleeping bag. I thought a porcupine had visited me the night before, and porkies as in porcupines, like leather, so I put my shoes in the bottom of my sleeping bag. He says, porkies always look for salt, so I decided it must be something else than porkies, because none of his like salted, like cured stuff was missing. So I guess porcupines are a big problem up in this area. I for some reason did not conflate porcupines and porkies, and just immediately went to pigs. So there you go.
Sure he's not foreseeing the hit film Porky's?
Maybe he is. Maybe he's foreseeing people peeping through the shower stalls and stuff at was that high school? Was that a teen romp? I forget.
I don't even remember.
Anyway, so the morning after that, after the first night of like stuff being moved, he actually noticed some of his provisions missing. He took his sack that he had like hung from the straps up on the tree, and he noticed a half-pound package of prunes was missing, and also his pancake flour was missing, but his salt bag was not touched. Therefore, it wasn't Porky's. It had to be something else.
I was kidnapped by a Sasquatch, and boy, was he shitting.
Yeah.
All those prunes. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this whatever it was at this point stole a half-pound thing of prunes.
Oh my God.
And some flour and got real backed up.
Jesus.
So he was going around looking for tracks, trying to find any evidence of what it was that was, starting to get into his stuff, and didn't find any evidence of like a bear, didn't find any evidence of porcupines, and basically it didn't look like anything that he knew to look for. No tracks, no signs of visible like bears like tearing shit up, none of that happening. So he continues to kind of take more and more precautions as the nights go on. In this case, he was going to try to stay up all night and keep watch. So he found a good place to view the camp from, and nothing happened. And then the night after that, he tried to stay up, but in his sleeping bag. And he kept his pick dug into a tree near where he was sleeping so he could grab it. He also put his rifle alongside him inside his sleeping bag.
That's smart.
It ends up being a little bit smart because at this point he was awoken after he had accidentally fallen asleep by something picking him up by the sleeping bag. So straight up cinching where the head hole is, cinching his arm around that. So he's being dragged by the sleeping bag, a la fucking Jason Voorhees.
He's about to get slammed into the tree.
100%. That's where my mind went when I first read this. I was like, this guy's going to get, what was that? Friday the 13th part 4. And then again in Jason Takes Manhattan in a simulation. Or not Jason Takes Manhattan. Sorry, Jason X in a simulation. I might be wrong on the first one, but I know the second one's
don't remember.
Right. Man, Jason X is a fun movie.
You're better equipped to remember that shit than I am. I do not remember.
I've watched all the Friday the 13th movies, and I don't think you ever did.
I didn't. I watched a couple of them, but not that
I now have a full Blu-ray collection, so I'm gonna rewatch them.
I hope you're ready to stay up late tonight because we're watching them all.
Gonna just power through.
Yeah.
I think it only has the first 8 because after 8 they were owned by like New Line instead of the other. Basically, the rights changed hands, so anything after Jason Takes Manhattan is owned by a different company and is never in the same box set. Except on like I think a Shout Factory collection has all of them.
Isn't Jason Takes Manhattan the one where like the kids like give him his weapon back? He's like they're like he just wants it, or am I thinking of the right thing? They like pick it up and they're like he just wants his fucking killing weapon back and he takes it and just immediately just starts murdering them.
I think so. But it also the famous one from Jason Takes Manhattan is a kid on a rooftop trying to like do martial arts at him or something, like either boxing or martial arts. And Jason just like punches his head clean off and it like goes down into a dumpster or something on the streets below.
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah. Okay, I remember that. Yeah,
that's the big one in Jason Takes Manhattan.
Jesus.
Anyway, this guy does not get Jason Voorhees. He just gets dragged for what he estimates to be about 23 miles over the course of 3 hours in a sleeping bag.
That's not right. That can't work.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, just here's the thing though, like you have your gun in your sleeping bag though, like I my whole point was that, I don't know, that just seems like a good way to blow something off of yourself.
Oh yeah. It does seem, especially since I think he was keeping it loaded at this point, it does seem like at the very least someone would have accidentally gotten shot here. But the thing he talks about in this like journey where he's in the sleeping bag is he was so compressed and like kept immobile that he can't reach for anything. He's in a position where he's like sitting on the back of his feet in this sleeping bag. Like his legs go entirely numb and start like hurting. And he's like cramped in this sleeping bag being drugged by this unknown beast like for 3 hours.
I am getting anxiety from imagining this. Claustrophobia even.
Yeah, if you really think about that is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
It sucks.
No thanks.
He would occasionally feel like his backpack hitting him where he has cans and like so it just basically this guy went through hell for like 3 hours and ended up in this like valley where he was set down in kind of in a cave, I think, and they dropped his like backpack next to him, so he had all of his stuff that was with him. He didn't anything that was not in his backpack or like on his person or in his sleeping bag was left at the original campsite. So he doesn't have his big knife. The only weapon he has is the rifle, I believe, and he has like some provisions in his sack, but that's about it. So
snuff and coffee.
Yes. He has snuff and coffee. And so this is when he like kind of tries to separate himself a little bit from the 4 Sasquatches that are here, seemingly mother, father, 2 children.
Do you think that maybe they thought that this guy was the one who had sampled their porridge? And so they were just kind of taking revenge on that?
Do I want to? Okay.
You know, if I accidentally stumbled upon something, we can just kind of go with the natural course of things.
No, one of this is entirely, it's not part of the actual story and it's not like a thing that I don't think Ostman himself stated this, so I'm just going to leave it. I can just bring it up now. When he said sample this porridge, one of the theories as to why these Sasquatches kidnapped Ostman was to attempt to procreate with the daughter of the Sasquatches.
Oh.
So.
And porridge is the name of the daughter.
No. But there's like some innuendo of sampling your porridge is like a.
Yeah. Like whenever I'm.
Fucking, yeah.
Whenever I'm trying to get a thing going with a lady, I do ask to sample her porridge.
Look, it's a very rude metaphor, but it does get used. So it made me think of it, and I'm sorry.
Wait, does it actually get used?
That's an actual, like.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
I was trying to make a
You're making a Goldilocks joke. I understand.
I did not know that people actually. That's fucking weird.
Yeah.
That's a weird thing to.
It's a really gross metaphor, frankly.
Weird.
But that's
People are weird.
Yeah. So maybe Ostman, if he had stuck around for longer than 6 days, might have boned down with a Sasquatch.
Oh no.
But as far as I am aware, and as far as the story that Ostman himself tells, he did not.
Oh God.
So we now have Ostman hanging out in a valley with 4 Sasquatches. So he started to kind of like take stock of the area and look at all of the different, Sasquatches that are there, and also try to get any circulation back in his legs after being cramped for that long. He started to kind of try to communicate with them. He asked, "What do you fellows want with me?" And they've had vocalizations, but it of course was not anything that Ostman could like attempt to understand. So he saw 2 big and 2 little creatures that had taken him.
And one that's just right.
One that's just right. No, they were all covered with hair and had no clothes on at all, he says. At this point, it was like 4:25 in the morning. And after he'd been like dragged throughout most of the night. And he decided to kind of, I guess, like survey everything and try to figure out what the fuck was going on. He says that this is how he described the kind of temperaments of the 4 of them. They look like a family: old man, old lady, and 2 young ones, a boy and a girl. The boy and the girl seemed to be scared of me. The old lady did not seem too pleased about what the old man dragged home. But the old man was waving his arms and telling them all what he had in mind. They all left me then.
Now, was the old man doing like a gesture where he like makes a loop with his index and thumb on his left hand and shoves his index finger of his right hand into that or anything like that? Or
no, it seems like he was just like gesticulating wildly at his wife, being like, "I brought him home. What do you want to do? What do you want me to do about it?"
Maybe he's just Italian.
Yeah. It has that vibe. It has a very like New Yorky vibe to it. An old married couple at that point. So there's like an opening that they keep kind of guarded so he can't leave. But he kind of has free reign in the area that they are staying in. So he's not like in a cage or anything. He's just in this valley and there's like a water basin, like kind of like a small, not like a lake or anything, but like a small pool, like what's
pool, yeah,
like a small pond.
Sure,
That's
pond,
the word.
yeah.
Jesus Christ. So there is some water. There's like fresh water there, so he's able to like do his stuff. They seem to. He comes to the realization that he thinks that this place that they're staying is some sort of like temporary place they pass through when they're kind of migrating, almost, because there's these small vegetables that they seem to be like collecting and eating from that they like offer to him as food over the course of these 6 days. So
Any nuts and berries or
no, it's like these like it almost sounds like they're pulling like fucking green onions out of the ground or some shit. Like it's that kind of like some sort of small like almost like root vegetable or something. He also has some of his own provisions and stuff that he also uses. So he actually sets up a little bit of his shelter as his little area, and he decided to go and start kind of the ritual that would set the pace for the next 6 days for him, where he would make his breakfast, which consisted of coffee, a little bit of snuff, and some hard tack with like butter and stuff.
No green onion?
No. He did eat some of their like the vegetables that they offered him over the course of this time period. And it seemed fine, like absolutely nothing wrong with it. But it was like his breakfast consisted of tobacco, coffee, and like just hard bread kind of thing that he had packed with him.
Ugh.
And so the boy and girl continued to kind of watch him throughout all of this stuff. They seemed very interested in everything he was doing. When he finished a can of snuff, they were like very interested in the tin, and he gave the tin to the boy, and they were very fascinated with it. They kept like kind of examining it and showing it to their parents, and just basically anything that he didn't like, that he was done with or whatever, he would kind of like show to the kids, and the kids would look at it and examine it and kind of take it over, and like, so he started to try to figure out if he could like give the dad basically a little bit of like snuff to see what he would, if it would be like good for him or something.
I was about to say he was having a real gorillas in the mist moment, but I don't think that Jane Goodall ever gave the gorillas any tobacco product.
But like they seemed very interested in the tobacco for some reason, and so like that became like a recurring thing. Anytime in the morning he would be making his coffee and taking his snuff, the Bigfoots, the Sasquatches would be just very intrigued by these things.
They never intimated that they preferred grizzly?
No, they never decided to go for some, what do they call the little like packages that they made for a little bit?
Oh God,
like snooze. Is it snooze?
I don't even know. Something nasty.
Anyway, he at one point he went to go get some water and got a drink, filled up his canteen, in this spring. And when he got back, the young boy was looking at all of his stuff. He wasn't touching anything or like interfering, but was just like surveying all the stuff this guy had with him. This is when he noticed where these creatures were sleeping. He said on the east side wall of this valley was a shelf in the mountainside with overhanging rock, looking something like a big undercut in a big tree about 10 feet deep and 30 feet wide. The floor was covered with lots of dry moss, and they had some kind of blankets woven of narrow strips of cedar bark packed with dry moss. They looked very practical and warm with no need of washing. So, good natural blankets.
Sure. I don't know how much I believe that one, but sure.
Yeah, it's whatever. So this was all on the first day. He kind of was figuring out the routine, figuring out what the fuck was going on here. So the first day he gives the kid the empty can of snuff. He takes it to his dad. They chatter about it for a while. And he basically just goes to sleep. He basically in the first day decides to just kind of wait this out and see what happens. But the next morning he really wants to try to leave. So he starts trying to like think if he could shoot his way out. But he only had a very small number of bullets, and he basically thought that the gun wouldn't take these things out.
Wait, so this dude... Sorry, they literally bring him here, not in the greatest way, but they're just like completely nonviolent and just interested in him. Mm-hmm. And he's thinking, how can I kill these motherfuckers?
Basically, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think he's straight up thinking killing. He's thinking, if I try to leave and they try to stop me, can I kill them?
Okay, I guess that's fair.
Which is a little different, but in the same vein a little bit. Like, he's going to violence first.
Whenever I hear about these like early 20th century, late 19th century, like stories of like dudes on the land with their guns and stuff, explorers and all that, like it just, they always seem to want to just immediately start killing. So yeah. I don't know.
No, you're not wrong. Like that seems to be the first inclination anytime someone witnesses something unknown. So here's his first attempt to try to get out. I'll just this is in Ostman's words. I rolled up my sleeping bag, put that inside my pack sack, packed the few cans I had, swung the sack on my back, injected the shell in the barrel of my rifle, and started for the opening in the wall. The old man got up, held up his hands as though he would push me back. I pointed to the opening. I wanted to go out. But he stood there, pushing towards me, and said something that sounded like soka soka. I backed up to about 60 feet. I did not want to be too close. I thought if I had to shoot my way out, a 30-30, which is some name for his rifle, might not have much effect on this fellow. It might make him mad. I only had 6 shells, so I decided to wait. There must be a better way than killing him. In order to get out from here, I went back to my campfire to figure out another way to get out.
That story honestly makes it sound like he wasn't kidnapped by Sasquatches, but rather method actors for James Cameron's Avatar.
A little bit, yeah. Look, they were doing previs. Avatar took a long time. And people say the wait for Avatar 2 has been long. But Avatar 1 was in pre-production in the 1920s.
So yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
That's why the water looks so realistic.
It looks so fucking good. They had to get those server banks going early to try to get that previous done. And so, like, it's a miracle that it came out at all.
For real.
Now, he decides then to change up his tactics and try to befriend the young ones, because they seem the most interested in him. They seem relatively friendly, and he might be able to effectively take advantage of the children to get out of here.
Oh God.
So he realizes that he can't talk to them, but he remembers that this is okay. Then I thought of a fellow who saved himself from a mad bull by blinding him with snuff in his eyes. But how will I get near enough to this fellow to put snuff in his eyes?
No.
So I decided, next time I give the young fellow my snuff box, to leave a few grains of snuff in it. He might give the old man a taste of it. So the plot begins. He decides, the way I'm going to get out of here is I'm going to try to blind the elder Sasquatch by throwing tobacco into his eyes and running.
That's a bad plan.
It's not a great plan, but I don't know what the better plan is at this point. So he starts to try to figure out where the fuck he is, because he was unable to see in the entire journey to this place. So he starts like trying to look at the mountains and get any sort of bearings. And he thinks that if he goes in, if he goes south and over these two mountains, he would be able to find London, Vancouver, which are places he knows. So he's starting to formulate the beginnings of like where he's going to go if he gets out and how he's going to get out. He says, the following day, I did not see the old lady till about 4 p.m. She came home with her arms full of grass and twigs and of all kinds of spruce and hemlock, as well as some kind of nuts that grow in the ground. I have seen lots of them on Vancouver Island. The young fellow went up to the mountain to the east every day. He could climb better than a mountain goat. He picked some kind of grass with long, sweet roots. He gave me some one day. They tasted very sweet. I gave him another box of snuff with about a teaspoon of snuff in it. He tasted it, then went to the old man. He licked it with his tongue. They had a long chat, and I made a dipper from a milk can. I made mini dippers. You can use them for pots, too. Now, a dipper seems to be like a small improvised pot.
Okay.
With like a handle, and like you cut into the metal of some sort of can to make something that you can then have a handle and use to cook or do something with snuff. I don't know what they're doing with snuff. It's I don't know what you do with that and chewing tobacco, you know? But he starts giving these to the kids. The kids are kind of interested in this like contraption that he made. And so he's keeping the kids occupied and sating their curiosity and kind of building a rapport with these children. Because when he first gives one to the boy takes it off and shows it to everybody and is like, having a good time. And then the father comes over with the son and the dipper and points at the dipper and then points at the daughter, basically asking, can you make one for her too? Which is like the level of communication in this is interesting for like all the other Bigfoot stories I've found, because like this is fully just like, they don't speak the same language, but they have full thoughts and they're very
able
much
to communicate.
Fully sentient.
Yeah.
So he makes another one effectively. So he started to kind of like over exaggerate doing snuff so that like how pleasurable it is and how good it is, to try to like continue to build up the old man's interest in it. And this led to the like old man Sasquatch making some strange sounds, like the sound like ook, while looking at him smacking his lips with this snuff in him. And this is when he changes his plan a little bit, and he says, if only I could get the old man to come over to me, get him to eat a full box of snuff, that would kill him for sure. And that way he would kill himself. I wouldn't be guilty of murder.
Oh my God.
So Ostman believes these beings to be of a level that they are human, effectively. They are, killing them would be murder, not like you're killing an animal.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the level
He's
of
recognizing there's some sentience there.
yes.
Hey, sorry, but on what grounds does he believe that feeding them a big old thing of snuff would just flat out kill them instead of just make them like really sick?
Basically he's seen people eat tobacco before and it makes them sick. So it's really just like in enough quantity, if it's going to make you sick, it's also going to kill you.
I guess that's fair.
It's a Hail Mary effectively, you know? But he for some reason at this point in the story, he decides to like talk about more about their like physical shapes. He says the old lady was a meek old thing. The young fellow was by this time quite friendly. The girl would not hurt anybody. Her chest was flat like a boy's. No development like young ladies.
Weird.
I'm sure if I could get the old man out of the way, I could easily brought this girl out with me to civilization. What good would that have been? I would have to keep her in a cage for public display. I don't think we have any right to force our way of life on other people, and I don't think they would like it. So it's an interesting moral quandary that he's in at this point of like, this is weird, but they're also like basically people, so it would be very wrong for me to try to take one with me, even if I could, because I would have to keep them imprisoned, and I think that's wrong. So I find the way he tells this story so interesting because he's trying to grapple with an entirely different like species, but of like an equal intelligence that should be treated like human beings, but also they have kidnapped him. It's a really weird mix of like emotions and thoughts that he's going through in regards to like what to do in this situation. And I find it really interesting.
Now, does he have any comments on the mom Sasquatch having like big naturals or anything?
Let's see. He does have some comments on her hair. He says the hair, let's see, the woman's hair on the forehead had an upward turn like some women have. They call it bangs. Nowadays, the old lady could have been anything between 40 and 70 years old. She was over 7 feet tall, and she would be about 500 to 600 pounds. She had very wide hips and a goose-like walk. She was not built for beauty or speed.
Oh, wow.
Some of those lovable brasseries and uplifts would have been a great improvement on her looks and her figure. Yeah, basically he wants to put a corset on this Sasquatch. Thinks it would make her a bit hotter.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he runs down the rest of them too. The young fellow might have been between 11 and 18 years old and about 7 feet and might weigh about 300 pounds. His chest would be 50 to 55 inches. His waist about 36 to 38. He had wide jaws, narrow forehead that slanted upward round at the back, about 4 or 6 inches higher than the forehead. The hair on their heads was about 6 inches long. The old man must have been near 8 feet tall, big-barreled chest, and big hump on his back, powerful shoulders. His biceps on upper arm were enormous and tapered down to his elbows. His forearms were longer than common people have, but well-proportioned. His hands were wide. The palm was long and broad and hollow like a scoop.
Okay. Now, I know this isn't a John Green told story because I'm not hearing anything about the hog.
Yeah. I do not think he has any notes about their genitals here.
Okay. Fair.
I don't remember.
You know what?
Reading
Honestly, that's fair. If he starts seeing them as humans, that would be kind of like some sort of like weird human. That would be kind of weird to be like, and here's what the dick looked like. Although, yeah.
He talks about them having like padded feet, like a dog's foot, and the big toe is longer than the rest and very strong. Thinking that's because they do a lot of mountain climbing. He says they were very agile. To sit, they turned their knees out and came straight down. So like going straight into that like yoga pose almost,
Criss-cross apple. Oh, I see. I see.
Where you like butterfly your knees out, basically. Yeah. I'm doing the thing with my legs to Kyle, but none of you can see that. So I'm trying to think of ways to describe it. So this is, he says they might eat meat, but I never saw them eat any meat or do any cooking. So they seem to be raw vegan, maybe. So that's interesting.
And straight edge.
Yeah. So he also says that he never sees them do anything that isn't like basically kind of necessary. Like all of the things they do seem to be very productive. He says that if they're not resting, looking for food, they're doing some sort of climbing or exercising. He says a favorite position was take hold of his feet with his hands and balance on his rump, then bounce forward. The idea seemed to be see how far he could go without his hands or feet touching the ground. So basically, he's doing like a dog poot scoot.
Yeah, he's propelling himself with his ass.
Yeah, and trying to see how long he can go without touching his hands or feet to the ground. This seems to be a fun exercise game for the children and even the adults in the Sasquatches, which, hey, never heard that in any other Sasquatch stories.
No genital descriptions, but are these caked up Sasquatch or what? Sounds like they're working their asses.
But hey, if he's suggesting some like nice like lingerie for the woman, maybe he thinks there's some assets there. I don't know. That is like one of those comments that just seems entirely unhinged when you think about it. It's like, why in the time you're looking at these fucking entirely alien beings, like beings that you have no concept of, why you're like, you look pretty hot if you wore some fucking lingerie.
You know, it's just the mystery of a man's mind.
We call it the Captain Kirk effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he basically, after I think 5 days, I guess, yeah, because he's there for 6 days. After 5 days, he's basically like, okay, I've done my routine enough. I have to fucking get going. I have to figure out a way to get out of here. So he basically tries to enact his plan. And he does this by, he's gathered enough of dry wood to start a fire. So he makes a big pot of coffee. And this entices the people over. He pulls out a can of snuff, puts a little in his mouth, whatever, and then offers it to the old man. And the old man takes the entire can of snuff and just swallows it. Like, takes the contents of it down in one. And immediately starts, like, choking.
Oh.
So Bigfoot, the Sasquatch, then grabs the entire pot of coffee that has been sitting there, downs that in one. This leads to the Sasquatch fucking losing his mind and, like, panicking and running around, like, trying to get anything to, like, because he just drank an entire thing of coffee with coffee grounds and also downed an entire tin of tobacco dry.
That's it's a rough way to go.
So the amount of stimulants that he just put into his body is fucking ridiculous. This guy is fucking zooted on caffeine and like stimulants. It's ridiculous. So this leads to, like, in the chaos, as the old Sasquatch is like trying to find water or anything to like help him, because he's basically poisoned himself with a box of snuff and this coffee. This causes the kids and the mom to also join in the chaos and try to help the old man. And this is when he leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So in this ensuing chaos, he slips out and books it with everything that he could take with him. And he like even starts like trying to the mom almost tries to stop him in the chaos, but he ends up like firing a shot just over her head as like a warning thing. And they don't seem to have ever seen a rifle before, so this freaks her out as well. And he's able to slip out. And he runs for as long as he can. He seems to have run about 3 miles before he's able to stop and get his bearings and everything. And he kind of reorients himself. And basically, this ends his times with the Sasquatches. He doesn't get caught with ever again. Like he's able to escape and basically make his way out. So he has gotten through all this stuff, and he ends up finding some, I think, loggers or something. He found a prospector and said he was lost, but he didn't tell them the story about the Sasquatches because it sounds absurd. It sounds ridiculous, like like the ramblings of a lunatic coming out of the forest. So yeah, he basically then he says, the following day I went down from this camp on Salmon Arm branch of Sasquatch Inlet. From then, I got the Union boat back to Vancouver. That was my last prospecting trip and my only experience with what is now known as Sasquatches. I know that in 1924 there were 4 Sasquatches living. It might be only 2 now. The old man and the old lady might be dead by this time. And that's the end of his story.
Fucking guess. Sasquatch could live to be 300 years old for all he knows.
Yeah, he has no idea. But that's the thing. Like, I don't know. It's such a wild fucking story. Now, I do have more stuff about like him actually coming out with the story and stuff that we'll get into. But that's the basic story of the Sasquatch encounter.
Oh boy. Okay. Well,
the fact that he gets out by poisoning this Sasquatch
with tobacco and coffee
is one of the funniest things I've come across.
The thing is, the Sasquatch did kind of do it to himself. Let's be real.
Hey, he didn't commit murder. If at worst, it was like it was accidental manslaughter.
He showed him proper snuff technique, and he didn't abide by the technique.
Yeah.
So
this Sasquatch may have died. Now, this story didn't come out for decades. In 1957, he started seeing more and more Sasquatch stories appearing in the press, and Ostman decided to come forward and tell his story to a local paper. A lot of people, of course, didn't believe him, stating that it was probably just some sort of made-up story. And John Napier, a primatologist, claimed that the story was simply not possible because an entire family of Sasquatch would not have the resources to survive in that particular area, as the food sources would be too limited. Other people criticizing him for taking so long to come out with the story, and basically those are the cases against him.
I'm assuming that this story comes out from him after the Sasquatch Bigfoot boom.
Yeah, in around 1957, after a bunch of Sasquatch stories have started to hit the press, he comes out with his. So, yeah, it's like, and here's the cases from the believers. Well, let's go. Those are the things against him. Let's look at the things for him. The writer John Green, who interviewed Ostman, says that he believes the story holds up. His reasoning is that because the story was told in 1957, it has the air of truthfulness that it would not have had if the story was told today. In Green's words given in a 2003 statement, Albert was a very believable fellow who handled tough cross-examination with cheerful composure, swore to his story without hesitation, and stuck to it until he died. But I wouldn't believe him if he were telling it today. Today, however, he would have easy resources for her descriptions of those 4 individuals and what they did. When the story came to light in 1957, the opposite was the case. Sasquatch were not commonly thought of as completely hair-covered creatures living much the same life as a bear. Instead, their public image was that of a tribe of giant Native Americans, hairy only on their heads, who lived in villages, held annual get-togethers on a special mountain, and used signal fires. His descriptions, so contrary to the media image of his time, has stood up wonderfully well over the years. More than that, he was questioned for hours by Darris Swindler and the veterinarian from the Seattle Primate Center, and they told me that the physical details and the actions he said he had witnessed all rang true. So there you go.
John Green would later collect other tobacco-related Sasquatch stories, one in which a Bigfoot is shown how to smoke cigarettes, but the Bigfoot puts the cigarette in his mouth and he imparts the wisdom, it only hurts you if you light it.
Yeah. After the rise in popularity of Joe Camel, Marlboro Marlboro had the Marlboro Man. Fucking, I don't know.
Camel?
Well, no, I was trying to think of another brand. I don't know. Marlboro tried to find the Bigfoot from Albert Ostman's story to see if they could bring him on as a spokesperson, because he seemed to have already developed a taste for tobacco. But they were unable to find the creature.
Do you ever think about how fucking cool Joe Camel was?
Every day.
God, that guy made me want to smoke cigarettes.
I think that's specifically why they outlawed
so cool.
advertising cigarettes.
So
Do you
cool.
remember back when cigarette advertisements were a thing?
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's weird to look back on that.
I got magazines as a kid that probably not Nintendo Power. I probably was reading my parents' magazines, but yeah, I read magazines that had cigarette ads in them, and I thought, damn,
that looks cool.
Must be cool to smoke cigarettes.
Now we just need to stop print advertisements for and commercials for fucking medicines, because that's antithetical to medicine. But that's just me.
But do you look cool when you do it?
No, not really.
Well, okay.
So Albert Ostman was interrogated multiple times over the rest of his life, and was even cross-examined by the police and agreed to sign a quote-unquote solemn declaration, which stated that his account was true under oath and by virtue of the Canadian Evidence Act. So basically, this guy, it's almost like he would be committing perjury if he was lying. But as far as I can tell, in Canadian law, there's some sort of thing where you can put a solemn declaration where you're basically stating that under penalty of law, what you are saying is true.
It's not like somebody can disprove him.
Yeah, I know. But that's the thing. I don't know. It's
the law is fucking stupid.
It really is. But that's kind of the story of Albert Ostman and the Bigfoot kidnapping.
Wow. But you know what? I'm going to choose to believe this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, like, was there any more to that whole angle of, like, people think that they wanted to breed him? They just, like, literally, like, thought that, like, there's no indication in the story that that's the case. So
no, but there was a YouTube comment on one of the videos I was watching that I did save. And here it is verbatim.
Excellent.
Osmond thought that maybe they were keeping him so he could breed with the young female. Hilarious. That would make a great Saturday Night Live skit.
What the
Yeah, a fucking miner from the 1920s fucking a Sasquatch is a great Saturday Night Live skit.
Awesome. We gotta get Kyle Mooney on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so not so much a theory as it was that guy's wishful thinking.
No, there are other people that think that was the case. It comes up in a couple other people's like analysis of the event, but I haven't found any evidence in Ostman's like story that he told that would lead to that.
Outside of wanting to strap the mama into a corset, of course.
Outside of him really wanting to give the mama Sasquatch some beauty tips.
God, can you imagine parting the hair for that?
Oh man. I do like that he's like, yeah, she had bangs. Like this Sasquatch
was a turf.
Hey, in modern parlance, this Sasquatch had turf bangs. Fuck. Oh man.
Oh fuck. Wow.
Do you want to do a big question?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So, what would be your unconventional method for getting out of a Bigfoot kidnapping? Snuff and coffee has already been used.
Am I in the same scenario as this guy? Or
sure.
Okay.
Like, I mean, if you want to alter it a little bit to make something fun, go for it. But think basically, no just shooting them or some shit.
I wouldn't do that though. That's not my style. What I would do is I would begin to subsist exclusively on the green onion.
Okay.
And then my burps would I would start belching away, and the odor that would be coming out of my mouth, and honestly, just with the way my digestive system is, probably my ass too, I would probably just smoke them out of there.
Yeah, so you're gonna go for kind of a smell-based attack,
biowarfare, essentially.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're turning your own body into just like a chemical warfare weapon, effectively.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's fair.
That's the first thing that came to mind. The other thing that came to mind is like maybe I'd create shadow puppets with my hands, and I can convince them that there's some sort of big scary thing coming. But that's not so funny. That's just kind of like fun for the kids, ultimately. So I think I would have to gas them out with my own mouth and ass.
So here's what I was thinking.
Okay,
let me run this past you. Have you ever heard of like what you're supposed to do if a dog won't let go of something?
Yell, drop it.
I mean, you could start there, but there's a bit more of an extreme option.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So I was thinking maybe this would
Is
be
it like a shark where you punch him in the nose?
No, but that would be kind of funny. No, this is a bit on the other end of things. So,
the ass?
Supposedly, if your dog won't let go of something, if you stick a thumb just right up the pooper.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know if this is an actual thing, but it's a thing that people reference.
That sounds like a thing that people say to get somebody to put their finger up a dog's ass for fun. a joke.
A little bit, yeah.
That's the butthole equivalent of releasing pigs labeled 1, 2, and 4 into a that's a trick. You're
getting played there, my man.
You're getting played there.
No, but I do think that if you're in a situation with some Sasquatches, if you do a fucking thumb up the bum, they're going to freak out, and you'll probably be able to slip out.
Unless, of course, the theory about them wanting to breed with you is true.
Only if they're into ass play.
I can't imagine that that's not the case.
I guess Sasquatch. We don't know if they have like separate.
No,
they might have like a cloaca type of thing.
What if everything's just happening back there? Like,
do Bigfoots have cloacas?
He didn't talk about the genitals, so I'm left to assume that there's just like a multi-purpose hole,
maybe
for all kinds of stuff.
But for some reason, the first thing that came to mind is just like you're trying to get a dog to let go of something, just right up there.
Fucked up. I don't fucking believe that at all.
Look it up. It's a thing.
Oh God.
Now it's not a good thing, but it's a thing.
That's fucking crazy. Can you imagine a Bigfoot-sized bird-like shit? Just like the kind of shit that a bird does.
They're up in the tree and it just comes. It would look like a fucking it looked like someone just came out of a fucking Pinkberry.
Yeah,
like it's like the big cup at Pinkberry.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh man, this is a nasty episode. We haven't had an episode this nasty in a hot minute. So I'm picturing just a really nasty, runny bird shit, but like on another scale.
Okay, that's fair. So you're thinking like a bunch of egg whites.
Yeah.
I was thinking a soft serve cone, but that's another
soft serve
story.
Cone. But either way,
maybe like an Oreo mix in.
Yes. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So that's the more poop based ending to this episode than I really assumed. Now I say that I didn't assume we'd go there, but I did write like a dog, like how to get a dog to let go of something in my notes. And thumb up the bum is in my notes for this episode. So like I can't say that I didn't expect some sort of butt talk.
Is this what a dog's purpose is about? I've never seen that movie, but
which the fucked up thing is like that's almost a less fucked up thing than what a dog's purpose actually is, and which the movie, if I remember correctly, is a dog that keeps getting killed.
Oh God damn it!
And like it gets reincarnated as a different dog and has to keep finding its original owner, which is like a fucked up thing.
It didn't even happen in the story, and yet here we are
killing dogs.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get them to let go of a tasty steak.
I've never seen a dog's purpose. I just, you described that and I was like, well, maybe that's what it's about.
Oh,
fuck.
Man. All right. So let's wrap this up before it gets any more blue. If you want to find more of this show, and why wouldn't you after this wonderful content we just produced, you can follow us on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers, from Stitcher to Google Play to Apple Podcasts to Spotify. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird and we're probably there.
ItGetsWeirdPodcast@gmail.com. Email us about potholes, the road, cars, whatever, your Sasquatch fantasies, and we'll probably read them on the show.
Send links to the lingerie you think would look best on a Sasquatch.
Please. Yeah, whatever you think would be a good girdle for
maybe a nightie,
get one of those. Whatever you think looks good, send it our way. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. You can donate to us at either one of those. And if you donate to the $2 tier, you get access to our bonus show, It Gets Weird TV, where we're currently watching Gravity Falls, which is just now having its 10-year anniversry.
Yeah. Happy anniversary, Gravity Falls.
Yeah. And so...
congrats on not doing NFTs.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex Hirsch, for that one. That comes out every other week. And then... oh God, I lost my train of thought. And then at the $5 tier, you get access to that show, plus another show on the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. So you get a bonus show every single week at the $5 tier. So that's a lot of fucking value.
Yeah, plus, it's been going for like multiple years, so there's a lot of backlog.
An absurd amount of backlog on our Patreon too. And And, you know, whether you donate to the $2 tier, the $5 tier, you get access to our main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday before everybody else. You get access to our secret little Discord. And you get the satisfaction of supporting your favorite podcasts. We also have a $1 tier that's literally just a tip. You don't get anything out of it. You're just like saying, hey, I like the show that you do. Here's $1 every month. If you can't donate, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle signing out.